Long before humankind gazed at the stars or lit its first flame, the Earth belonged to other rulers. For more than 160 million years, the planet breathed beneath the footsteps of magnificent beings. Creatures so vast and graceful, they seemed sculpted from the imagination of the universe itself. The dinosaurs, guardians of a world unrecognizably ancient. They shaped the lands, filled the seas, and touched the skies. But just as suddenly as they rose, they vanished, leaving behind a silence that still echoes across time. Even today, their disappearance stands as one of the greatest enigmas in the story of life. How could an empire that endured for eons fade away almost overnight? What force was powerful enough to rewrite the destiny of the entire planet? Imagine that ancient Earth, endless forests shimmering beneath a golden sun, rivers winding through fern-covered valleys, and colossal forms moving slowly across the horizon. The air was thick and warm, carrying the scent of damp soil and flowering plants. Above it all, wings glided through the mist, early birds, descendants of dragons. It was a world vibrant with harmony, a vast tapestry of life perfectly balanced with its surroundings. For tens of millions of years, the dinosaurs thrived. They adapted to mountains, deserts, and deep coastal plains. They became the architects of ecosystems so intricate that every tree, every insect, every ripple in the water was shaped by their presence. To live in their world was to live beneath the rhythm of giants, a rhythm so steady that it seemed eternal. And yet, eternity ended. 66 million years ago, something extraordinary happened. A single moment changed everything. The sunlight dimmed, the seasons faltered, the skies themselves turned unfamiliar, and the age of giants came to a close. What caused this transformation? Scientists have uncovered hints. An enormous impact crater beneath the Yucatan Peninsula, layers of volcanic rock in India, ancient chemical signatures frozen in stone. Each discovery tells a fragment of the story. But even now, the full truth remains hidden, buried beneath the passage of time. Was it a celestial event, a visitor from the stars that reshaped the Earth? Or did the planet itself rise in revolt, changing its breath, its temperature, its balance? Could life have been undone by its own fragility, or by something beyond our understanding altogether? To uncover this mystery, we must travel backward through the ages, to the dawn of their reign, when the Earth was still young, its continents restless, its creatures testing the limits of creation. Only by retracing the footsteps of the dinosaurs can we glimpse the clues that led to their fate. The bones that rest beneath our feet are not merely remnants of an ancient world. They are messages, whispers from an age when the Earth dreamed on a grander scale. So tonight, we awaken that dream. We walk once more among the giants, beneath skies untouched by human eyes. And as we draw closer to the moment their song fell silent, one question remains. If they could vanish so completely, what does that say about us? Before the final silence, there was splendor. The world of the dinosaurs was not a place of fear or chaos, but of extraordinary balance, a masterpiece sculpted by time itself. From the first delicate dawn of their evolution to the height of their glory, the dinosaurs became the Earth's greatest expression of life's creativity. It began in the shadows of deep time, more than 230 million years ago, when the world was a single vast continent, Pangaea. The air was warmer, the days longer, and the land stretched endlessly from pole to pole. Across this boundless wilderness, the earliest dinosaurs appeared, small, swift creatures with bright, alert eyes and quick minds. They were unlike anything before them, built not for destruction, but for endurance. Over the ages, they grew in number and form, diversifying into every corner of the planet. Some evolved long necks that could reach the tallest treetops. Others developed wings to glide above ancient seas. Some grew armored plates that shimmered under the sun, while others walked with the quiet grace of herds moving through ancient valleys. Each species was a reflection of the world it lived in, each perfectly attuned to its surroundings. The sauropods, with necks stretching higher than houses, fed on forests that no longer exist. The triceratops wandered vast plains, its great frill gleaming like a living crown. In the shallows, Enormous reptiles glided through water so clear that sunlight danced across their scales. Above them, the first birds, their feathers glinting with color, began to carve paths through the wind. The earth itself seemed to nurture them. Volcanoes shaped new lands. Lush forests spread across the continents. Rivers carved passageways that became the arteries of this living planet. From tropical coastlines to frozen highlands, dinosaurs adapted, flourished, and reigned. For more than 160 million years, they were not merely inhabitants of the earth, they were the earth. Their footsteps molded landscapes. Their migration patterns changed the course of rivers. The rhythm of their existence echoed through the ground, into the roots of trees, and perhaps even into the heartbeat of the planet itself. This was not an empire built on conquest, but on coexistence. They shared the world with towering ferns, ancient pines, and flowering plants that painted entire valleys in color. In the air, insects hummed like living jewels. The nights glowed beneath unfamiliar constellations. Life was abundant and everywhere, a continuous miracle. And yet, as the world evolved, subtle changes began to ripple beneath the surface. Continents drifted apart. Ocean currents shifted. The air cooled, then warmed again. The balance that had endured for so long began, quietly, to change. But for the moment, in the age we now call the Cretaceous, life had reached its golden peak. The world was alive in ways we can barely imagine. A dawn chorus of birds filled the skies. Great herds moved across endless plains. Forests swayed beneath the slow, steady footsteps of giants. It was a time when the earth itself seemed eternal. A time when every sunrise felt like a promise that this harmony would last forever. But nature's promise is never permanence. Even the greatest rain must someday meet its twilight. And far beyond the horizon, in the deep silence of space, something was already moving. A messenger of change, invisible and unstoppable. The golden age of dinosaurs was nearing its end. The sky itself would soon bring their final day. It began with silence. The kind of silence that seems too deep to be real. The pause before something immense happens. 66 million years ago, the Earth stood on the edge of an unseen moment. The world was vibrant, full of movement and sound. Dinosaurs ruled every continent. The air shimmered with the songs of insects and birds. Forests swayed under golden light. It was, by all appearances, a perfect day. Then, the sky began to glow. Somewhere above what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, a streak of light appeared, brighter than the sun, growing larger every heartbeat. For a brief moment it looked beautiful, almost divine. And then, in an instant, beauty turned to brilliance. A flash so intense that shadows vanished. A wave of light faster than thought. Then came the sound, a roar that swallowed the world. An asteroid, roughly 10 kilometers wide, struck the Earth at nearly 70,000 kilometers per hour. The energy released was beyond comprehension, billions of times more powerful than all the volcanoes, all the storms, all the fires the planet had ever known combined. In that single instant, the age of giants began to fall. The ocean boiled, mountains melted, the atmosphere itself caught fire. A shockwave raced around the globe, flattening forests, igniting plains, and lifting the seas into walls of water that swept entire continents. In the sky, stones and molten glass rained down, falling like stars turned to ash. Within hours, the world's balance was broken. The sunlight dimmed. Dust and soot rose high into the stratosphere, forming a veil that blocked the warmth of the sun. Days turned cold. Nights grew endless. Plants withered. Without light, the cycle of life, the rhythm that had carried the Earth for millions of years, began to falter. Scientists call it the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. But to the creatures who lived it, it was simply the end of the world. In fossil layers across the planet, this moment is written in a thin band of clay, the boundary between ages. It contains iridium, a rare element more common in asteroids than on Earth. This is the signature of the impact, the silent evidence of that cosmic collision. Beneath this layer lie the fossils of a thriving planet. Above it, a world of silence and emptiness. But the story did not end with the explosion. The true catastrophe unfolded slowly, over months and years. As darkness covered the earth, temperatures dropped. The oceans grew acidic. Rain carried ash and chemicals, poisoning the rivers and lakes. The plants that fed the herbivores disappeared, and the predators soon followed. Yet, life clung on in small, hidden places, deep in the oceans, beneath the soil, and within the shells of tiny creatures. From those survivors, a new world would one day emerge. But for now, the Earth was a place of quiet transformation, a planet caught between death and rebirth. To imagine this moment is to imagine the fragility of everything. The same sun that had nurtured the dinosaurs was now veiled behind smoke. The same air that had carried their cries now carried only dust. And yet, even in this darkness, something endured. The fossils of that era tell us of life that refused to vanish, birds that took flight into the dim skies, small mammals burrowing into the warmth of the earth, seeds waiting beneath the ash for light to return. The age of dinosaurs had ended, but life itself, that ancient, persistent spark, had not surrendered. Still, one question remains. Was the asteroid alone responsible for their extinction? Or was it only one part of a far greater chain of events? Because as the world recovered from the impact, the Earth itself began to tremble again, and from deep beneath its crust, something else stirred. For millions of years, the Earth had known peace, the slow rhythm of seasons, the gentle balance of life. Then, in a single instant, that rhythm shattered. 66 million years ago, something from beyond the stars entered our sky. A visitor of unimaginable power. Came not with malice, but with destiny. A traveler from deep space, carrying the weight of cosmic chance. His name we now know, Chicxulub. The asteroid, roughly 10 kilometers wide, had been wandering the solar system for ages. Perhaps it was a fragment of a broken world, or debris from an ancient collision far beyond Mars. Whatever its origin, its path was fated to cross ours. When it did, it struck with such precision that it altered the story of life itself. The moment of impact was not a mere explosion. It was an event that defied imagination. The asteroid struck the shallow waters of what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. In a fraction of a second, the ocean vaporized, the crust of the Earth folded inward, and a crater nearly 180 kilometers wide was born. The Chicxulub crater, a scar so vast it remains hidden beneath layers of rock and sea. The force released was the equivalent of billions of atomic detonations. Mountains turned to vapor. The air became a storm of molten stone. Within minutes, fires spread across entire continents. Rivers of glass rained from the heavens, solidifying as they fell, droplets that still exist today, buried in the fossil record like frozen tears from the sky. But the true destruction came not from fire, but from what followed. When the asteroid struck, it sent dust and sulfur high into the atmosphere, enough to dim the sun for years. The Earth entered a twilight. Photosynthesis ceased, plants withered, and the chain of life collapsed from the ground up. Geologists have found the evidence written in stone. Around the world, from North America to New Zealand, a single layer of gray clay marks the exact moment of the event. This layer is rich in iridium, a metal rare on Earth but abundant in meteorites. It is the fingerprint of the asteroid, a silent signature of the day the skies fell. In places like Hell Creek, Montana, fossilized trees and bones lie entombed just below that layer, frozen in their final moments. Above it, the world changes. No dinosaurs, no great reptiles, only traces of small mammals and birds beginning to rise in their place. Scientists studying the Chicxulub crater found something even more haunting. The pattern of impact glass, shocked quartz, and melted rock matched what only the most powerful explosions can create. Beneath the crater lies a ring of fractured stone that shows how the Earth's crust rebounded like water after being struck. The energy was so immense it caused the ground to behave as if it were fluid. For hours, the sky burned. For weeks, the Earth rumbled. Tsunamis hundreds of meters high swept across oceans. Ash and soot filled the stratosphere, blocking sunlight for months, maybe years. Temperatures plunged. Acid rain fell. The Earth's heartbeat slowed to a whisper. But even as destruction spread, The seeds of renewal waited in the shadows. Tiny mammals burrowed into the ground. Birds, the last surviving branch of the dinosaurs, sought shelter in forests that still smoldered. When the dust finally began to settle, they would emerge into a changed world, quieter, colder, and ready for new life. The asteroid theory explains much, but not all. Some scientists believe it was the single cause, the moment of extinction. Others argue it was the final blow to a planet already struggling. Because while the heavens fell, the Earth itself may have been stirring from within. Far from the Yucatan, in a land that would one day be India, the ground trembled with endless eruptions. Lava flowed for thousands of kilometers, painting the landscape in fire. These ancient eruptions left behind a geological monument known as the Deccan Traps, a vast region of solidified volcanic rock. Could it be that the dinosaurs were already facing the end before the asteroid struck? Could the fire from above have merely joined the fire below? The mystery deepens, for in the story of extinction, no event stands alone. Every ending has many beginnings. Long before the fire fell from the heavens, fire was already rising from the heart of the earth. Deep beneath the crust, immense chambers of molten rock began to awaken. The ground trembled, the air grew heavy with ash, and rivers of lava spilled across the land in glowing streams. This was no ordinary eruption. It was the earth remaking itself from within. 66 million years ago, in what is now Western India, an unimaginable event unfolded: the birth of the Deccan Traps, one of the largest volcanic formations in the history of our planet. The name Traps comes from the Swedish word trappa, meaning stairs, for the landscape still rises today in vast, step-like layers of ancient lava. These steps stretch across more than 500,000 square kilometers, an area larger than modern France, and reach depths of over 2 kilometers in places. For hundreds of thousands of years, these volcanoes erupted again and again. Each eruption poured out enough lava to cover entire countries, releasing immense clouds of gas and particles into the atmosphere. The sky darkened not from an asteroid's shadow, but from the Earth's own breath. Scientists believe the Deccan eruptions may have begun before the asteroid impact and continued long after. The timing is uncanny. The last and most intense phases of the eruptions occurred right around the time of the dinosaurs' final days. Imagine it: the sky filled with ash that dimmed the sun, painting the world in hues of red and gray, the air thick with sulfur and carbon dioxide, rains that tasted of acid, oceans turning warm and restless as their chemistry changed. The air, once full of the scent of ferns and rain, now carried the sharpness of burning stone. This wasn't a single moment of disaster, but a drawn-out transformation, one that tested every living thing. Plants struggled to survive as sunlight weakened. Forests began to fade. Herbivores, losing their food sources, wandered through empty valleys. Predators followed not to hunt, but to search. The Deccan Traps theory suggests that the dinosaurs' extinction may have been caused by this long, suffocating change, a planet slowly losing its balance. The volcanic gases released during this period could have trapped heat in the atmosphere at first, causing global warming, followed by cooling when sunlight was blocked by volcanic dust. The world oscillated between extremes. Evidence of this cycle is written in the rocks themselves. Layers of lava record a rhythm of eruption and silence, like the beating of a slowing heart. Traces of carbon, sulfur, and mercury show how the chemistry of the atmosphere changed again and again. In ancient seabeds, scientists have found signs of acidification, proof that even the oceans, the cradle of life, were transformed. And yet, the Deccan Traps may not have been entirely separate from the asteroid impact. Some researchers propose that the collision in the Yucatan Peninsula could have triggered an increase in volcanic activity across the globe, like a planetary chain reaction. The shock waves might have traveled through the Earth's mantle, awakening magma reservoirs already near eruption. If that is true, then perhaps the dinosaurs' final days were not caused by one event, but by two sky and earth acting together, a double cataclysm. The heavens brought the strike, the earth brought the fire. The two forces intertwined, reshaping the planet in ways we are only beginning to understand. After the eruptions finally ceased, The world that emerged was quiet, subdued, and strangely new. The air cleared, the oceans calmed, and life began to return, not as it was but as something different. The age of reptiles had passed. The age of mammals was stirring. Still, one question remains. If the Earth itself could create such change, what else might have conspired to end that ancient world? Because as the lava cooled, another force, colder and more subtle, began to shape the planet's fate. It came not from fire, but from the slow whisper of the wind, the shifting of clouds, and the silent drift of time. The end of the dinosaurs did not come in a single heartbeat. After the skies dimmed and the lava cooled, the world entered an age of uncertainty, a time when the Earth itself seemed to hesitate between warmth and cold. The land that had once glowed with tropical forests began to fade into gray. The rhythm of the planet was changing. At first, the shift was subtle. Temperatures dipped only slightly, the air cooled, and the rains became unpredictable. Rivers that once overflowed with life began to shrink. Seasons stretched longer, harsher. The trees, the ferns, the very pulse of nature began to slow. Then the balance tipped. Scientists believe that, following the asteroid impact and the volcanic eruptions of the Deccan Traps, vast amounts of ash and gas filled the atmosphere. Sunlight could no longer reach the surface freely. For years, perhaps decades, the Earth remained shrouded beneath a veil of darkness. Photosynthesis faltered. Plants weakened. The chain of life that had sustained the dinosaurs began to unravel. As the world cooled, icy winds swept across regions that had once been lush and green. Oceans grew colder and more acidic. The great inland seas that had divided continents began to recede, leaving behind endless plains of mud and salt. This wasn't a sudden freeze, but a long, drawn-out sigh of the planet. Day by day, the warmth that had cradled the dinosaurs for millions of years slipped away. The herbivores were the first to feel it. The enormous sauropods, once rulers of forests and valleys, found fewer trees to graze upon. The great horned triceratops searched through barren lands for the last green shoots. Without abundant food, their populations dwindled. Then came the predators. The mighty tyrannosaurs, who once ruled with effortless command, began to fade as their prey vanished. They too became ghosts of a world no longer made for them. In time, even the smallest creatures struggled. Insects lost their flowers. Frogs and lizards found their ponds drying or freezing. The delicate web that connected life began to fray. And yet, the Earth did not freeze completely. In some regions, as volcanic dust settled, carbon dioxide from the Deccan eruptions thickened the atmosphere again. The pendulum swung the other way from cold to heat. The world lurched between extremes. Sudden cold, followed by stifling warmth, then cold again. For the dinosaurs, these fluctuations were more than weather, they were chaos. Their bodies were built for balance, for the predictability of seasons. They could adapt to heat, to drought, even to scarcity, but not to an ever-shifting world where nothing stayed the same for long. And so, one by one, the great lineages began to fade. But the story of this transformation is not merely about death. It is about renewal. In the midst of ruin, life adapted. Small mammals, once hidden in shadows, began to thrive. Birds, the last descendants of the dinosaurs, learned to navigate the changing skies. The seeds of flowering plants, carried by wind and water, waited patiently for the light to return. When the darkness finally began to lift, the Earth looked unfamiliar. The air was cooler. The forests were thinner. The sound of giant footsteps was gone. In its place, a quieter world. One where the survivors began to write a new chapter. Some scientists argue that climate change, not the asteroid or the volcanoes alone, was the true architect of the dinosaurs' demise, the slow turning of the planet's wheel that no creature could resist. Others see it differently. They believe the climate shifts were only the echo of greater forces, the aftermath of events beyond comprehension. And yet, there are whispers of another possibility. What if the end did not come from the sky or the earth or the air, but from within life itself? What if the enemy that silenced the dinosaurs was not fire or ice, but something microscopic, unseen, and unstoppable? long before the final meteor struck, long before the sky dimmed and the forests faded. Another enemy may have begun its silent work, one too small to see, too ancient to trace. An unseen force that moved quietly through nests, swamps, and herds. It did not roar, it did not burn, yet it may have been as deadly as fire or ice. This is the theory few speak of, the idea that the age of dinosaurs may have ended not through cataclysm, but through contagion. In nature, extinction does not always arrive as an explosion. Sometimes it whispers, spreading like a shadow from one living thing to another. What if, in their golden age, the dinosaurs faced a slow, invisible adversary, a world of pathogens rising in tandem with their own evolution? The Earth of the late Cretaceous was a place of abundance. Warm, humid climates nurtured lush vegetation and teeming ecosystems. Such richness also bred vulnerability. In wetlands and jungles, microscopic life thrived. Fungi, bacteria, parasites, and viruses, each adapting as quickly as the creatures they lived within. Fossil evidence hints that disease was no stranger to the ancient world. Some bones bear signs of infections that ate through tissue. Others show patterns of swelling, lesions, or deformity, hints of bacterial or parasitic illness. Even preserved dinosaur coprolites, fossilized droppings, reveal parasites once hidden in their hosts. Imagine herds of towering herbivores gathered near shrinking waterholes as the climate cooled. One creature falls ill, perhaps from a parasite in the water. Another drinks from the same pool. Slowly, sickness spreads. Fever, weakness, confusion. Soon, the herd begins to thin. Predators, feeding on the weak, become carriers themselves. In a few generations, entire species could vanish without a sound. It may sound like speculation, but modern history provides clues. During the Ice Ages, disease swept through mammals weakened by climate change. In later epochs, plagues reshaped entire populations of animals, sometimes wiping out whole lineages. Why not then, in the deep past, when ecosystems were even more delicate? Some paleobiologists suggest that the shifting environment of the late Cretaceous might have triggered new diseases. As volcanic gases altered the air and the asteroid impact reshaped the climate, many regions became warmer, wetter, and unstable. Ideal conditions for pathogens to evolve. Insects and small reptiles, resilient carriers of bacteria and viruses, could have spread them quickly through food chains already under stress. There are even fossils of insects trapped in amber from that time, their tiny bodies containing traces of prehistoric microbes. Could these have been the first vectors, nature's ancient messengers of decay? The thought is haunting. While the world prepared for cosmic disaster, the true end might have already been unfolding at ground level. Unseen, unstoppable, spreading across continents as quietly as nightfall. In such a scenario, the asteroid might not have been the beginning of extinction, but its conclusion, the final blow to species already weakened by an invisible war within their own bodies. If that were true, then life's greatest rulers were not brought down by violence or fire, but by fragility, by the limits written into the code of existence itself. And perhaps this pattern repeats. For even now, in our modern world, small unseen forces continue to test the balance of life. Still, some believe the answer lies even deeper, not in the Earth nor in its creatures, but beyond it. Because there is one more theory, one that reaches beyond biology and geology into the cold silence of the cosmos. Could the dinosaurs' end have been written not in disease or disaster, but in the stars themselves? The story of the dinosaurs' extinction has always pointed us to the heavens. The idea that their reign ended with an asteroid, a messenger of cosmic fate, is already extraordinary. But what if the truth goes deeper still? What if the cause was not merely from space, but of space? Some scientists and many dreamers have long wondered whether the fall of the dinosaurs might be connected to cosmic forces far greater than a single collision. The universe, after all, is not a calm place. Stars live and die. Galaxies collide. Radiation sweeps invisibly across the void. And somewhere in that endless expanse, the destiny of our world is written in light and shadow. One theory suggests that Earth may have passed through a cosmic danger zone, a region of space filled with deadly radiation from a nearby supernova. When a massive star explodes, it releases energy powerful enough to strip atmospheres and alter climates across vast distances. If such an explosion occurred within even 30 light-years of our planet, its shock of gamma rays could have shattered the ozone layer, exposing the surface to intense ultraviolet light. Under such exposure, plants would wither. Food chains would collapse. Species already stressed by shifting climates could perish. And yet, in the silence of time, all direct evidence of such a supernova could have vanished, leaving only faint chemical traces in ancient rocks. Isotopes like iron-60, scattered like cosmic fingerprints. Others have looked closer to home, to the sun itself. Our star is not constant. It pulses and storms. Some astronomers speculate that powerful bursts of solar radiation, superflares, could have heated the atmosphere, ignited wildfires, and disrupted global weather patterns. It's a distant echo of what we know today. Even small changes in the sun's activity can reshape climates and ecosystems. And then there are the theories that dare to go further still, theories that blur the line between science and myth. Ancient legends from around the world speak of beings descending from the heavens in times of great change. The Sumerians wrote of celestial visitors known as the Anunnaki. The Hopi told stories of sky beings who brought both wisdom and destruction. Even the mysterious carvings in Egypt, Mesoamerica, and Mesopotamia depict lights in the sky and creatures with features both human and otherworldly. Could such myths preserve the memory of a real event? A cosmic encounter that reshaped life on Earth? Some researchers have speculated that the asteroid itself was not a random traveler, but part of a greater pattern, perhaps even a fragment of something guided or triggered. The idea may sound fantastical, but the universe has its own kind of intelligence, one written in mathematics and motion. Comets are timekeepers of the cosmos, returning in patterns across ages. The orbit of the Chicxulub asteroid, reconstructed through simulations, may have originated in the distant Oort cloud, a vast sphere of icy bodies that encircles our solar system. Some believe gravitational disturbances, perhaps from a passing star, or even a hidden planet, could have dislodged the asteroid and sent it on its fatal course toward Earth. In that sense, the dinosaurs' end might not have been a coincidence. It could have been a rhythm, a cosmic cycle of creation and renewal that unfolds over millions of years. Mass extinctions, according to this view, are not accidents, but part of the universe's pattern of rebirth. And then there is one more idea, the one whispered in the margins of science and myth alike, that the asteroid was not a natural rock at all, but something crafted. Writers like Zecharia Sitchin and Eric von Daniken once speculated that advanced civilizations, not from Earth but from beyond, may have had a hand in shaping our planet's story. Could an extraterrestrial intervention have reset the Earth's biosphere, clearing the stage for a new form of life, ours? It's an unsettling thought, but one that resonates with the ancient texts that speak of gods remaking the world in light and fire. Even Plato, in his tale of Atlantis, hinted that civilizations rise and fall according to cycles controlled by celestial order, as though the heavens themselves keep the clock of existence. Whether through supernova, solar flare, cosmic rhythm, or something far stranger, one truth remains. The sky has always watched the Earth, and when it changes, so too does everything beneath it. Perhaps the dinosaurs did not simply die out. Perhaps they were chosen by the universe's own rhythm to make way for what would come next. But even in the ashes of extinction, not all was lost. For life, stubborn and eternal, found a way to endure. A few bloodlines survived the long night, quiet, hidden, waiting for the sun to return. And when it did, the world was reborn. When the fires dimmed and the dust began to fall, silence returned to the earth. A silence so deep that it seemed even the wind was afraid to move. The age of giants had ended, but not everything was gone. In the shadows of this new and fragile world, life still stirred. Small, determined, and unseen, the survivors began to emerge. Among them were the distant heirs of the dinosaurs themselves. The birds, feathered descendants of ancient raptors. They had been small enough to hide in forests, light enough to escape collapsing ecosystems, and adaptable enough to feed on whatever remained. Their hollow bones, their quick instincts, and their ability to fly became the keys to their survival. As the skies cleared, they returned to the air, tentative at first, wings brushing the still falling ash, then soaring higher with each passing season. They were not merely survivors of a great extinction, they were the living continuation of an empire reborn in miniature. Every songbird, every eagle, every gull that circles our modern skies carries within it the pulse of those ancient giants. Below, in the dark rivers and swamps, another ancient lineage endured, the crocodiles. They had been here long before the first dinosaurs, and they would remain long after. Built for patience, they waded through famine and flood, barely changing through millions of years. When the surface world burned, they sank into the cool safety of the waters, their bodies slowing to the rhythm of survival. While the great reptiles perished, these creatures, low to the ground, cold-blooded and silent, simply waited. They did not need much food, or warmth or light. They existed in the spaces between death and renewal, where time itself seemed to pause. The oceans, too, held their witnesses. Turtles glided through dark waters untouched by fire. Sharks patrolled the deep, their design so perfect that extinction itself passed them by. Even the tiny ammonites, those spiral-shelled travelers of the seas, clung on for a time before vanishing into history's tide. And on land, something new began to rise, soft-furred, warm-blooded, and small. The mammals. During the age of dinosaurs, they had lived in secrecy, burrowing in the earth, feeding under moonlight, hiding from the thunder of titans. But now the giants were gone, and the world was quiet. They emerged cautiously, first as small shrew-like creatures, their bodies built for warmth and agility. They found seeds, insects, and roots where others found only emptiness. They learned quickly, bred swiftly, and spread silently across the recovering earth. In time, their descendants would evolve into the great mammals of later ages. Elephants, whales, primates, and eventually us. The extinction that ended one story became the beginning of another. And yet, traces of the old world never truly disappeared. The birds still glide with reptilian precision, their skeletons echoing the blueprints of their ancient ancestors. The crocodiles rest in riverbanks, eyes half open, watching as they once watched the dinosaurs drink. Even the lizards that bask on sun-warmed stones carry whispers of the age before. Reminders that life does not end, it transforms. Scientists have found fossils from the years immediately after the impact, layers of sediment known as the Paleogene dawn. In these layers, they see the return of forests, the reappearance of lakes, the rebuilding of food chains. It was not swift, nor easy. It took hundreds of thousands of years for the planet to heal. But life was patient. From this patience came resilience. From the ashes of catastrophe came diversity. From silence came song. The world that emerged after the dinosaurs was smaller, quieter, and colder, but it was alive. And that, perhaps, is the greatest miracle of all. That in the face of cosmic destruction, the spark of life refused to die. The dinosaurs may have vanished, but their legacy endures in every bird that sings, every reptile that waits, every living thing that adapts and survives. But the question remains, what truly caused that final turning point? Was it chance? A chain of natural events? Or something written into the very fabric of creation? A pattern that repeats across the ages? For if such a transformation happened once, could it happen again? 66 million years have passed since the last echo of a dinosaur's call faded into the air. And yet, the question remains, why did they disappear? What truly ended the reign of the giants? We have traced their story through fire and ice, through the trembling of the earth and the silence of the stars. We have followed the trail from volcanic fury to celestial impact, from shifting climates to unseen plagues. Each theory stands like a piece of a shattered mosaic, beautiful, incomplete, and hauntingly familiar. Perhaps the truth is not one story, but many. Perhaps the end of the dinosaurs was not a single event, but a chain, a cosmic and earthly symphony of catastrophe. Imagine it, the earth already restless, its crust cracking open in fire across ancient India, volcanoes pouring endless rivers of lava into the sea, choking the skies with ash. the air thick with gases that warped the world's breath. And then, from the heavens, a silent traveler descends. The asteroid strikes, igniting oceans, shattering continents, and throwing the planet into twilight. The volcanic clouds meet the dust of the heavens, weaving a veil so dense that the sun disappears for years. Beneath that darkened sky, the last of the dinosaurs take their final steps, unaware that the rhythm of their world is ending. But even in this tragedy, there is balance. The same force that ended their world also cleared the stage for a new beginning. From the ashes rose the mammals, small and clever, carrying the potential of future worlds. From the remnants of the dinosaurs came the birds, transforming the sky once again into a place of life. Extinction, in its mysterious way, is never purely destruction. It is transformation, the closing of one chapter so another may begin. Still, there are those who believe the pattern runs deeper, that every few tens of millions of years, Earth crosses an invisible threshold, a cosmic rhythm that resets life. Some call it coincidence, others see design. The ancients spoke of cycles, of floods, of fires, of worlds reborn. Could the dinosaurs' extinction have been one more turn in that eternal cycle? A cosmic breath in out between creation and renewal? Even now, their story lives all around us. In the call of a hawk circling the wind, in the quiet patience of a crocodile beneath still water, in the fossils that sleep beneath the mountains, carrying memories of sunlight that shone long before humankind. The earth remembers, and sometimes, in the shifting of the ground or the flicker of a meteor across the night sky, it feels as though the past whispers again. A reminder that we, too, are part of the same fragile story. The dinosaurs vanished, but their lesson remains. That life endures, transforms, and returns, again and again. Perhaps their extinction was not a tragedy, but a gift, the breath that allowed our world to begin. Perhaps their end was not the closing of a book, but the turning of a page. And so the question lingers, unanswered but eternal. Was it the asteroid, the volcanoes, the cold, the disease, the will of the cosmos? Or was it something far greater, a whisper from creation itself, reminding every living thing that no kingdom lasts forever, and that even in endings, there is always light waiting to be born? The mystery endures. But tell me, what do you believe truly ended the age of the dinosaurs?